What's up, people of internet land? Today we have a guest, and it's Seth.
Hello.
So basically, at the agency, our Google Ads processes have gotten very, very complex. And that includes, especially for car dealers, VLA segmentation, creating a lot of customizations with campaigns, with, having aged inventory or vehicle campaign specific to $25,000 or less, or we just cut, slice, and dice a lot more than I think anyone in the space right now, especially for VLAs. And within that, Seth, who I'm going to pass this off to in a second fully, is the main person behind making sure the stuff gets done correctly. And, I used to be in that spot, but he's taken it completely to the next level where it's like we can just keep adding complexities and you find ways to deal with them. One of the things he's built recently is an anomaly detector. And you can find scripts for anomaly detectors. They've been out there for a long period of time. But the reason that this one is cool and different is because it's custom to what our needs are. And I just think it'd be valuable, cool stuff because this can give ideas on how to make campaigns better, how to deal with complexities, how to showcase how we're a little bit different by showing the secret sauce, managing the most effective processes. So, long story short, I'm going to give it to Seth. I'm going to ask him some questions, and then we're just going to talk it out. So, here you go, buddy.
Yeah. So, kind of working off that, the anomaly detector here came out of me finding that there were some recurring issues that were coming up in our accounts that were basically just from I didn't have enough eyeballs on every single campaign because we're stacking up quite a few campaigns, especially with our new strategies with VLAs, for segmenting every single dealer with a different campaign for every single vehicle. That adds up pretty quickly.
Can I interrupt?
Yeah.
What were the things, like tangible examples, you found yourself missing?
Um, the biggest thing that, or like the impetus for this to start with, was campaigns that would just go dead and I wouldn't catch it right away because I was looking at the total account spend, like campaigns or account spends, and tracking those, but I wasn't clicking into every single individual campaign. And even if I was looking through every single campaign, I was looking for, this month. So if the campaign has spent something over the course of this month, I'm not going to immediately look at it and raise some red flags because I'm frankly not doing the mental math of what's the daily budget, how much has it spent for every single campaign. That would be, I'm not that good at math. So, but within that, I was missing some that the campaigns would go dead and I wouldn't catch it for up to a week maybe, and then we come back after the fact and we're rushing trying to get things back together because we've already been down a week. So I wanted that to not happen anymore. So I wanted to be able to catch those things sooner.
Now, was that happening specifically in vehicle listing ad campaigns?
Vehicle listing ad campaigns were one of the biggest sources of that, but it could happen really in any of our campaigns because there's a lot of reasons that a campaign can go down. So I mean, it could be for vehicle ads. It could be that you don't have any cars left that you can advertise for that campaign, right? You've segmented out every single other one and you sold them all. So maybe that's why the campaign's dead. Or maybe something's wrong with the bid strategy and the campaign's just killing itself that way. Or for other campaign types, if you're doing like warm targeting and something happens with your audience and it breaks, then that can cause a campaign to die. Or there's so many things that can go into it that can cause a campaign to kind of fall. So I just wanted one quick way to say, hey, there's something wrong here. Look into it, figure out what it is. And that's really all I needed. So building that wasn't all that complicated, luckily. And like you said, there were other anomaly detector tools out there, but none of them did exactly what I wanted them to do. So this was a simple way for me to make a very custom tool that does exactly what I needed it to. So the specifics of how I did it, I'm using Google Sheets to more or less parse all of our account data and show me the things that are wrong, and so I can go fix them. Google Ads has an extension for Google Sheets that you can create reports out of. So in this instance here, I have a couple of reports. I won't go into them specifically because they have all of our account data, but I have one that's saying it's just looking at all of the accounts yesterday. So what all the accounts did in the date frame of yesterday. And then the other one is the last 30 days. What did all the accounts do? So for the yesterday one, what I'm looking for is any campaign that the cost was $0 yesterday. So if the campaign spent nothing yesterday, I want to know. So that way I can go in and make sure everything's okay. Sometimes it's like, oh, I just created the campaign at 9 p.m. and it didn't have enough time to get launched. Okay, great, whatever. It'll probably pick up the next day. We'll keep an eye on it. Or if it's like the other things that I brought up, if the inventory isn't there anymore and the campaign's got nothing to serve, or if it's bidding strategy that's just not configured correctly, then I want to know about it. So this is the polished version, the final of all the campaigns that yesterday spent $0. And these are for various reasons. Again, we have some VLA campaigns in here. We have some others. Like this campaign up here is using a warm audience. We're testing it, and the audience isn't really big enough, so it hasn't spent out. And I was expecting that, but I also want to know offhand if it's not going to do that.
That's why I get emails about that campaign from you a few times a week.
So this one was pretty simple. More or less, it's just taking that report that is available through the Google Ads extension in Google Sheets, looking for all of them that have a cost of 0, and it's going to spit them out here. It's just filtering it to do that. And then
that's across all accounts.
All accounts, every single one. And then I use Zapier to more or less tell me if there's changes in the sheet, and then it'll shoot an email to me, or how we currently have it with our product management software, which is Monday. It'll automatically create an update in there and set the due date to today. So I look at it right away. So, I mean, pretty simple solution to that specific problem, but it has helped us stay on top of these campaigns, at least personally, like I've never been able to before. So that way we're catching these errors a lot sooner, and we're fixing them a lot sooner.
So this gets plugged into Monday. Like, let's say these campaigns still continue to tomorrow. When you walk in the door, when you open up your laptop, if you're at home, Monday.com already has those in it?
Say it again, sorry.
Like these campaigns are like these separate pulses in Monday.com already?
Yeah, they're all separate items under, I have an anomaly detector group in Monday for our PPC board. And each of those is a separate item under that.
Okay.
And so with that, you might, if you're looking deeply into this, you might say, okay, well, if tomorrow this campaign doesn't spend again, that will stay right here. And if Zapier is just looking for rows that change, it's not going to send me a new notification, right? Well, I don't dismiss those notifications until I've confirmed that the campaign started to spend. And so it'll change to a monitor status versus working on it.
Interesting. So, okay.
That's how I manage these currently. I'm sure there's more I can do to have it update me every single time or every single day that passes to do that, but it works for now.
All right, so campaigns going dead. Obviously, you want to make sure that doesn't happen. What other use cases?
Yeah, so I mean, there's so many that I'm thinking of too that we can build up, but the next one that I did specific to our use case was a bid target miss. So if we're using a maximize conversions bidding strategy with a target CPA set, or if we're using maximize conversion value with a TROAS set, I want to know if our targets are out of spec with what we're actually seeing. So the target miss, right now we have none in here because I just went through these earlier today and confirmed everything.
Hooray!
Yeah. But more or less, it's going to check with whatever threshold I set here. So if our TCPA is, let's say, at $10 and our actual cost per conversion is at $15, that's outside of a 20% variance. So it's going to push that campaign to here, and it's going to let me know.
So campaign by campaign basis.
Yeah. And so something that I found with this and actually just fixed today was that if we have some campaigns that have some kind of anomaly, so we have here in my snooze campaigns, which I just, like I said, built today, there were a couple campaigns that had an anomaly happen that was causing them to show as out of spec with their targets. So this first one up here, there was a specific day, on August 8th, the account got attributed more or less like 4 times what they normally see on a given day. And so that was throwing off the ROAS goal here. And it was making it seem like our actual ROAS is way better compared to our target. But being that's an anomaly, I don't want to change that just yet because I don't think we can do that in perpetuity. So every single day.
To touch on that real quick before you leave off of that. So basically, this is more for e-commerce. Basically, one of the e-commerce companies had a big day, but that was an outlier, and we did not want any change to happen from that because if we just let the system run without human interference, then it would have increased the TROAS goal or something like that.
Yeah, and for some like tangible numbers, like I think our TROAS on that campaign's 500%. And the actual TROs over the last 30 days was closer to like 800, 900. But that's, I mean, almost double where we're at. And it's not something that I think we can expect from that campaign. And if we did set it to that 800 or 900, I would pretty quickly imagine that campaign would fizzle out and spend nothing at some point. And then it would show on the other report that it was spending nothing.
Real quick, before you move on, that's interesting because I get so many like conversation points about how do we leverage AI, how do we leverage, all the different automations and things that we have at our disposal, whether or not we should use a platform to manage everything. I really like the way Seth has, I think he's discovering through this trial and error where to define the line between this isn't really AI, but this is automation. But where to find that line between what should be automated, what should be automatically applied versus what needs human interference. So he's basically just using automations to eliminate all the grunt time he would need to find this stuff, and then he can make the most accurate decisions. And that's really important. So that's why I like it. Anyways.
Yeah. And then, this other campaign here, same deal. They had a huge day where they had, I believe it was more or less like a wholesale order, and it came through our ads and just massively spiked the conversion value on that campaign. And again, if we did the same thing, if we just adjusted it like the recommendations were saying, it would eventually fizzle out because it's not something over the past like 90 days or 120 days that we've seen as the norm. So this one tells me if it's doing better than we expected to do, or if it's telling me if we're doing worse than it's expected to do. Either way, again, I want to know about it.
Okay, so we covered if a campaign's dying or not.
Mm-hmm.
We covered if it's not performing to its bid strategy or not.
Yeah.
What else?
So that's currently what I have built out because those were the two biggest things that I was seeing issues with within our own accounts. I do have plans for this in the future as well. I would like to eventually use this for more or less the conversion tracking. So checking to make sure that all of our conversions are still active by seeing, are we still getting conversions in an account?
You stole the idea out of my head. I was literally going to say, can we make this track conversion validity? Yeah.
Yeah. So like a simple use case there would be, we can build this out to say, this account normally gets 10 purchases a day. If we haven't seen a purchase within the last 3 days, something's definitely broken. Those are just arbitrary numbers, but we can build something like that to say, hey, check in here. And again, that's probably something that's available through other anomaly detectors, but I don't think as customizable as it is in this way.
Do you think that this setup for other people running car dealer ads or even e-commerce ads for that matter would be useful? Or do you think that everyone kind of needs their own?
I think it depends on scale for one. Because I mean, this is only something that we're kind of running into as we have like a fair number of clients and fair number of accounts and campaigns that we have to manage and keep control of. So if you're running like a single point, for example, I don't think it would necessarily be huge unless you don't want to spend any time in the platform and just want to know when stuff goes awry. Then you can do that. But I definitely think that this could have larger applications. Because I mean, if your campaign spent nothing yesterday, I think that could be helpful to anyone, right? If you have a campaign that's enabled and everything else is all good, which that checker does check for it only looks for enabled campaigns with everything else active. If that's the case in your account and it's still spending $0, I don't know a single account where that's a good thing. Same thing for the TCPA and TROAS for the bid target miss. if you're using bid targets, if you're using a TCPA, if you're using TROAS, there's probably a reason you have those set. And if you're not hitting those in that campaign, that's something that you're going to want to know as well. Google has its own recommendations and the tabs and the auto apply recommendations as well that we've never seen good performance out of. But I mean, I think this is something that could apply anywhere.
Yeah, that makes sense. And this is common stuff I think you'd see in other anomaly detectors. It just works better for our situation. Um, Interesting. The conversion tracking would be awesome.
It would be.
How do you imagine that working?
There's different event or different report types available through the Google Ads, Google Sheets extension. So the two that we're working with here are just like the campaign reports, but I believe there should be one for events or whatnot. I'm not fully sure, but we'll get there. I'll figure it out.
Cool. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think that about covers it. I mean, just more or less figuring out ways to fine tune this to meet our specific applications. And I mean, if you're at all comfortable in Excel, a lot of this is, or Google Sheets in this case, it's relatively straightforward. Because I mean, like I know we have a lot of different nuances and like standard ways that we do things. So, for example, with our like naming structures, we have ways that we can utilize that naming structure in these detectors to say like, okay, I don't want to include any of our campaigns that are tests, and so we'll exclude the tests. I only want to look at our e-commerce campaigns, which are all labeled with e-com. We can do similar stuff like that would be specific to us, and that's part of the flexibility that I like out of this. But again, it can be as general as you need it as well.
That helps a lot. We're very strict and on the same page with nomenclature, and I think that just makes life so much simpler for everything. So, and it's proven too. Now, one question: do you think that, like, if you upload a table into ChatGPT, because I've tried it, you can get, if you ask it to do an analysis on a table and find me, the most keen insights, it'll come up with something.
Yeah.
Do you think that application could play a part into this?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I definitely think you can leverage AI to sort of inform more of these things and kind of pull out more insights. I just get weary when you start relying on AI. I definitely do like using AI, but I've also caught it lying to me almost every time I use it. So I have a hard time relying on it when it comes to spending real dollars on something. So when you're spending a client's money, you want to make sure that it's being spent in the right places. Now, oh, well, ChatGPT told me to. Well, yeah, they're not going to care.
Right. Do you use GBT or Gemini or
both? Yeah.
Why both?
They're different. They'll give you different kinds of responses. And plus my work Gmail isn't connected to Gemini. So sometimes I'll use GPT there, but if I'm on my personal, I'll use Gemini or kind of try them both, see if they give me different answers.
Yeah. Cool. Always testing.
Always.
All right. Nice.
What I got.
I like it. That's it, guys. See you later.